Beginning. Lost between stars. I was not supposed to be alone. That was the thought echoing in my mind as the emergency beacon pulsed weakly against my wrist, each blink a reminder of how far things had gone wrong. The crash had happened fast, too fast for fear, too fast for preparation. One moment I was aboard the Helios Venture, a civilian survey ship mapping resource-poor systems for the Colonial Council. The next, alarm screamed, gravity twisted, and the stars spun like scattered sparks. Now I stood on the surface of an unnamed world, beneath a sky stained copper and violet, with my ship reduced to a smoking scar half buried in jagged stone. The planet was hostile but quiet. Wind carved the rock into sharp spines. Sparse vegetation clung to life in narrow ravines. The air was breathable, barely, but carried a metallic tang that burned the lungs if inhaled too deeply. I took stock of what I had left. A damaged survival suit, a half-functioning beacon, 3 days of rations, and no idea whether anyone was coming. The Galactic Assembly listed the system as contested territory, a polite phrase meaning claimed by species that don't welcome visitors. I'd argued against the route during planning. The Council had overruled me. Now, as the sun dipped below the horizon and unfamiliar constellations bloomed overhead, the reality of my situation settled in. I was lost, and on a world where humans were not supposed to be. The signs I didn't understand. The first night passed in fragments of sleep and half-dreams. Strange calls echoed across the plains, deep, resonant sounds that vibrated through the ground rather than the air. I couldn't identify the source, and my suit's sensors returned nothing useful. At dawn, I noticed the tracks. They weren't animal prints, not exactly. The impressions were deliberate, evenly spaced, too symmetrical. Whoever made them walked upright, with purpose. I followed them. Curiosity is often described as humanity's greatest strength. In that moment, it was also my greatest risk. But staying still felt worse than moving forward. The tracks led into a canyon carved by ancient tectonic forces. Shadows pooled thickly between stone walls, and the air grew cooler. Symbols appeared on the rock. Etched, not painted. Sharp angles. Repeating patterns. Language. My heart pounded. This wasn't an uninhabited world. A low hum filled the air behind me. I turned slowly, hands raised, pulse roaring in my ears. That was when I saw her. Middle, the one who watched from the shadows. She emerged from the canyon wall as if she had always been there, armored plating shifting seamlessly as she stepped into the light. She was taller than me by a full head, her build powerful and balanced, every movement controlled. Her armor was a dark, matte alloy, marked with faint glowing lines that traced her limbs and torso like a map of contained energy. A helmet concealed her face, visor opaque and unreadable. An alien warrior. I swallowed hard. "I'm not armed," I said, knowing full well she might not understand human speech. My ship crashed. I didn't mean to trespass.
She didn't respond.
Instead, she circled me slowly, eyes, wherever they were, never leaving my movements. I felt like a specimen under examination. When she finally spoke, her voice resonated through a translator field, deep and precise. "You are human," she said. "You should not be here." There was no anger in her tone, just certainty. "I didn't choose this," I replied. "I'm trying to survive." That seemed to interest her. She tilted her head slightly, a gesture I would later learn signified evaluation among her people. "This world is under the protection of the Carthel clans," she said. "Intrusion is met with force." I nodded. "Then why haven't you used it?" A pause. "Because you are not behaving like an invader," she said. You are behaving like prey. The honesty of that statement unsettled me more than a threat would have. My name is Rin, I said after a moment. I'm an engineer. I am Valkara, she replied. Bladesinger of the Third Hunt. The title carried weight. I could feel it. She studied my suit, my beacon, the wreckage visible in the distance. You will not survive the next cycle alone, Valkara said. Follow. It wasn't a request. Shelter among enemies, her encampment was hidden beneath an overhang shielded from the wind. Energy fields masked its heat signature, and modular structures blended seamlessly into the rock. She offered me water, filtered, mineral-heavy, but life-saving. You are my responsibility now, Valkara said, until you leave or die. I wasn't sure whether to be reassured or alarmed. Over the next several days, I learned fragments of her culture through observation and cautious questions. The Carthel valued strength, but not recklessness. Survival was earned through awareness, discipline, and restraint. They were warriors, but not brutes. Valkara trained daily, practicing fluid combat forms that looked more like dance than violence. Each movement flowed into the next, precise and deliberate. You watch closely, she observed one morning. I'm trying to understand, I said. She paused, then nodded. Understanding is the first step to respect. In return, I repaired parts of her equipment, adapting human tools to alien systems. She watched me work with the same intensity I'd seen in combat. You shape metal as if it listens to you, she said. It doesn't, I replied. But it responds if you know how to ask. That earned a faint, approving sound, almost a laugh. The threat beyond the horizon, the calm, didn't last. One evening, Valkara returned to camp with her armor scorched and her movements tense. Scouts from the Iron Wraiths, she said. Raiders. They harvest survivors from crash sites. My stomach dropped. Like me. Yes, she confirmed. And now, like us. She activated a projection, 3 incoming signatures converging on our location. We must move, she said. I can help, I offered, though fear clawed at my resolve. You'll slow me down, she replied bluntly. Then, after a pause, but I will not abandon you. We traveled through the canyon under cover of darkness, taking narrow paths only Valkara seemed to know. When the raiders attacked, it was sudden and overwhelming. Energy bolts lit the stone walls. Explosions rocked the ground. Valkara fought like a force of nature, her armor flaring as she deflected blows and struck with lethal efficiency. I stayed low, using tools and terrain to create diversions, overloading power nodes, triggering collapses. At one point, a raider broke through, weapon raised. I reacted without thinking. I slammed a charged emitter into its exposed joint, sending a surge through its armor. The raider fell, systems failing. Valkara stared at me afterward, visor glowing brighter. You adapted, she said. I learned from the best, I replied, breathless. For the first time, she inclined her head deeply. The choice that defined us after the battle, we reached a high ridge overlooking the plains. Rescue signals finally registered on my beacon, human ships responding to my distress call. They will arrive soon, I said. Valkara looked toward the stars. Then our paths separate. I hesitated. You could come with me. The assembly would want to meet you. Learn from your people. She considered this. My place is here, she said. But what you carry back, that matters. She removed a small device from her armor and placed it in my hand. A record, she explained, of our laws, our values. So your kind does not return ignorant. I closed my fingers around it. Everything changed because you found me. She met my gaze steadily. No, she corrected. Everything changed because you chose to learn. Ending. When I brought home, the rescue ship arrived at dawn, its engines stirring the dust and light. As I boarded, I looked back one last time. Vale Cara stood on the ridge, armor gleaming softly, watching. She did not wave. Neither did I. Back among humans, I told my story, not as a tale of fear, but of understanding. The data Vale Cara gave me reshaped negotiations with the Carthel clans. What could have become a conflict became a cautious alliance. As for me, I returned to engineering not just of machines but of bridges between worlds. Because I learned something on that distant planet, beneath an alien sky, that strength isn't found in who finds you when you're lost. It's found in who you become after they do. And somewhere out there, an alien warrior still walks the canyons, knowing that one human learned the truth and carried it home.